Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Triple Scoop. I am Ben Goldberg. Today we're going to be talking about the price increases that just came to the Disneyland resort. Let's get it going, guys. All right, welcome back to another episode. I am Ben. That is Jordan. There's Jeremy. Say hi, guys.
Hello.
Heidi ho.
Today's episode is going to be a little bit of an opinionated topic, I think. What do you guys think? I think that this is a touchy subject for some of us, and it's going to be all about the price increases that seem to come every October now for the last several years to the Disneyland resort. Before we dive into this, big shout out to Mice Chat for putting together such a great comprehensive guide that we can kind of follow along with. Some really good information in here.
So guys, really, I want to quickly lay down some facts that I have found out that I think relate very well to this price increase before we talk about how maybe Disney's taking a little bit too much for themselves and stuff like that. Let's talk about general facts on where the park has come from. I'm going to even go a full 40 years and just how we got to where we are. And I'm going to start by saying the attendance rate, because I think a lot of people see this as the positive that Disney's trying to do for the consumer is bring down the crazy amount of people that come per year. That's the one positive maybe they're looking into. But if we look at statistics, let's say through the 80s and 90s, Disney was averaging about 13 million people per year, or around anywhere from 32 to 40,000 people a day. Do you guys have a guess at what that is in the last 2 or 3 years on average?
Like per park?
And this is just for California Adventure and Disneyland. Like, how many people do you think per year come to those two parks?
Per year? You said it was at 13
It
million?
was at around 13 to 14 million through the 80s and 90s.
I'm going to guess that it's probably closer now to like 40 to 50 mil. And I'm also going to assume that there's a lot of local people that come with the Magic Keys.
Yeah, so you are off on that, but it is a bigger number. It is roughly anywhere from 19 to 24 million people in the later 2000s. Post-pandemic were the biggest years. You had the 22 and 24. Last year it went a little bit less. It went 19, 20. But what that is that's, a big population increase in the state. I also want you to know, like, California has also grown by 10 million people in that time. So this state, a lot busier. And I don't think it was 10 million. I think it's, let me have the stat. I think it's 10 billion or something. It's something ridiculous. Hold on. No, it's 10
billion's a lot. I was like, 10 billion's a lot, man. There's no way it's 10
billion. Yeah, no, it's 10 million people the state has grown by. And you are right. Disneyland is more of a local park, where Disney World is a traveler, more destination. So 70% of people that come to the parks are local to California.
Well, let's dive even more to that. I would say that they rely on the local market with their annual pass system, right? The slow season at Disneyland, when it is truly slow, is nice, actually. And what drives attendance then is the annual pass holders. I mean, Jeremy, you were a Magic Key holder up until recently, weren't you?
Yeah, we stopped before the price hike because it was already, for 3 Magic Keys, it was already going to be $3,000 a year. And that's not even for the top level. I mean, the first time I dropped my Magic Key was after college, when I think it was the second to top one went up to $400 a year. And I thought that was a lot of money. I mean, that you can't even get the bottom tier SoCal only pass for $400. That gives you about 100 days of the year you can go. And they're all Monday through Thursday only.
They were called annual passes when we were at them. I think the pass you're referring to is called the Deluxe, if I recall correctly. Because I had like the premium one. I had that one where there's no blackout dates and parking was included and blah, 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 blah. So let's dive into this a little bit further. I want to kind of go over the tier system that Disneyland now operates with that is newer than what we're referring to even. So now the way that Disneyland does their pricing in general is that it's based upon the busyness of the season, meaning that a summer day or a holiday, as in like Christmas and things like that, Thanksgiving, those are considered their busiest days of the year now, where let's say right in the fall or like winter, right about January, February, right when the holidays end, that would be considered slow season. You'll see a lot more ride refurbishments. So there's tier 0 through tier 6. Let's just go over it really quickly. Tier 0 is $104 for a 1-day, 1-park ticket. There's no increase there, okay? Tier 1 went up to $126. That's a $7 increase, or about 5.9%. Tier 2 is now $142, or an $8 increase. Tier 3 is $164, or a $10 increase. Tier 5 is $196, or a $12 increase. Tier 6 is $206, or a $12 increase. Now, that's just one park, 1 day. That is not going to both parks. I'm not saying that like you can get mad at Disney for raising the prices here, because you're choosing to go on the tier day that you want, right? Like they're not making you go that day. Obviously, it's a choice. But how do you guys feel about paying? Let's just do right in the middle. Do you think that $164 justifies a day at Disneyland or California Adventure?
Yes.
So here's the different question though. Per person, right? Maybe. If it's just you, if I'm just going myself and some friends and I only have to pay for me, yeah, that's fair. Okay, that's fine. If I have to pay for my wife and I to go, it becomes a lot more of a question. But now I got to add my kids as well, who get maybe what, a $5, $10 discount. Thank God Cameron is 2, so he's still free for another year. But Kaylee is 6, and so I get to save $10 for that. We wanted to take her for her birthday this year. Actually, we wanted to take Cameron for his birthday because his birthday is October 20th. He'll turn 2, and it would be 3 tickets on a Sunday. So what would Sunday the 20th be? Let's not even take the top of the line one.
It's probably the highest tier ticket, if not the second highest.
So that's $206. So $412 for the 2 of us. So that the kids is probably $196. So Kaylee's going to be, you're at over $600 just to get into the park, plus $35 for parking.
No, wait. Parking just went up too. So hold on. Parking increased. Okay, yeah, 35. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, it was Lightning Lane that went up from 30 to 32.
Parking's still the same, which is
crazy. And then Lightning Lane, if we have to buy that, that's 3 more. There's $96 right there. Parking, thankfully, only have to pay for 1. It's $35. Mm-hmm. And then you got the cost of food throughout the day, unless we plan on living off of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches for the entire day. Mm-hmm. So at that point, you are at a minimum of $1,000, or at least a minimum of $700 just to get into the park and have corn dogs. Is basically what it is. $700 for a 1-day thing. And just for reference, no, I'm going to save that reference for later. Remember that number, $700 for a family of 4, where one of the kids is free. To me, it's not worth that at all.
Can I have my Jordan rant? Because I have so much to say, and it's a very pessimistic thing.
But before Jordan does this, I need to remind everyone that's listening and watching that, look, we're critical because we care. This is going to be a very critical episode that we're talking about because, like Jeremy was just pointing out, man, the money issue is real for a lot of us out there. And especially when you start having a family, you really got to start thinking about needs versus wants and da-da-da. So before Jordan goes on this giant rant, because I know he wants to, I just want to preface, we're critical because we care.
Yeah,
right, Jordan?
I agree with that. I'm going to state first off, I don't think this is Disney's fault all the way. I really don't. I think this has a lot of other factors that even we as consumers are at fault on. Which is Disney is playing a corporate thing here, which a lot of companies do. If they can get more, why shouldn't they get more? You know, they have a product that people want, and we pay anything to go to it. Disney has followed the whole thing that so many products do. It's called like gotcha, basically. It's the want for something that you feel is going to be something more than what it is. You know, you go to Disney and you expect this great ride, you expect this great food, and maybe it doesn't hit that, but you're trying to obtain that, and Disney does a great job of always trying to put that into light. I was just basically going to say that society has made it this way, and I really feel strongly about that. Like Disney had the ability years ago to put more parks into the United States, and that would create less demand on these parks. And I think that's kind of a weird thing to say, but it's like they wanted to put a Disney America in Texas. At one point they wanted to put one in DC. This didn't happen because people are flying cross country to these two destination parks and spending all their money. And why would they dilute their product? And by keeping it at this low price, they're diluting their product. By raising the price, they can keep a high product and do a lot of things that people want to achieve, the gotcha ability of this park. And so instead of us getting angry, we do need to look at ourselves and say, we were overusing this before. We were going to the park too many times a year, trying to cheap out with things. There's just so many ways to go about this. You could have brought your own food to Disney. You don't ever have to pay for their food, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's a valid point. In fact, I'm going to go off something you said. When I was in college and I had my annual pass, I would go once a week probably at a certain point, right?
Yeah, you would. Drag me along with you.
Yeah, I know, but I remember, I'm sure we talked about this when we were on the way down there or in line, something like that. I used to crunch the numbers on what the tickets cost then, which were about like 100, the tier 0, whatever. That used to be the normal price. And then you added like a little bit more for a park hopper, which, by the way, to do a park hopper now, you're starting at $65 and it will go up by tier also. So now you're adding on a tier 3 day, that $164 ticket now becomes like, what, $230 now pretty much for like one for a ticket?
200 for one tier 6 day. Oh, the tier 3 day you said, or tier 2?
I'm doing tier 3 because tier 3 is right in the middle.
Oh, so yeah, tier 3 would be $229.
Yeah, so
1 day, one person, one ticket.
So in the span of less than 15 years or 10 years, to go to both parks now is just over $100 more automatically, and I think that's kind of crazy. Jordan, you're not wrong in that we've created this a little bit ourselves. I do hear you.
A little bit. We are 100%. The consumer has all the power here.
Okay.
Stop going to the park so much. They can't raise the price.
Yeah, and that's something that I've told people over the years, right? But we all know on this show, right, that no one's going to listen to that because people are going to do what they want. And Disney is Disney. They don't have to do anything because people will pay a premium to go and experience entertainment. In fact, one of my favorite quotes when people ask me what I wanted to do for college and I was like, I want to work in entertainment marketing. I made this argument so many times that people will pay a premium to be entertained. Entertainment is like one of those industries that will never go out of business. My wife works in post-production, okay? And the hours that she works, sometimes midnight, 1 a.m. I used to like pick her up, so she didn't have to like go home alone late at night. I'd be sitting outside the studio in a like parking lot by myself, right? And it's lonely and it's crazy. But the point is that there's pressure on these people to produce at that rate because entertainment doesn't sleep. That it just doesn't. Now, going off something you did say, Jordan, about how there were plans for other parks, it's interesting that you say that because where Disney hasn't done that, competitors are doing it now, and they see that.
They are adding to their previous. No one is expanding in this country because of how good the two locations are doing.
No, but I'll say this. I think that, not to get off topic with this entirely, but to say that Universal opening up in Texas, for example, which is happening, that's a real thing.
That's official.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they're building it. It's a kids park. For kids, basically.
It's not like a full Universal studio.
Wait. It doesn't matter though. There's Universal present. It's a theme park now in Texas.
Well, that's
Universal. Hold on. Let's keep going with this. Universal opening up a horror-based year-round attraction in Vegas is another example of them expanding their market to Vegas. Like, you got to think that Disney at some point, yes, they are on the coast, they are worldwide. Bob Iger made a really big point when he was, before he retired as CEO, before he came back, he wanted to go overseas because he knew the market needed to go overseas for Disney to survive. I mean, they talk about it in detail. But what I think the bigger issue here is that you say that the ticket is worth it to go on a day like that. You say that the rides are in pristine condition and that this and that.
I did not say that. I'm saying we are causing that cost. So if we're going to pay it, it's clearly worth that. So yes, like I'm going to pay that price to go once, maybe every 2 years. I mean, I don't know. People will. It's the type of person, what your luxury is.
You're right. I will go to the park. I used to go frequently. I'll probably go to the park once or twice a year now, if that, right? And that's just kind of where I'm at as I get older also. And like ringing in with Jeremy and the kid thing, like, yeah, man, like you start talking about a family of 3, a family of 4 going, it becomes a real big need versus a want. Can we actually afford this trip? Jordan, to your point, you totally can bring snacks in and food in. We do that when we go, man. Like I know that. I think that when you're talking about price increase, it really comes down to perceived value. And like you're hitting it on the head a little bit, Jordan. Like you find it worth it to go and pay whatever premium that you want because you want to go to the park and you think it's worth it. I hear you. I do. I think that in terms of the product, though, when you're looking at the offering in the theme park, it has been scaled back. I mean, we just talked about this with Halloween time. Halloween time, there's a giant increase in park entertainment during the rest of the year, and maybe the tier days do play into this a little bit. Sure, but you're still not getting what you used to get, and they're charging more now. And I would say that the rides in particular, since pandemic, have gone downhill with maintenance, and this is a big thing for Disney in general, is paying their employees a livable wage, right? That's a big thing. And these people, like, the rides are broken down more often than not. Jungle Cruise has a thing that's been broken for months.
But why care? The people are coming. They shouldn't care. Because the people keep coming, they don't give a crap. They made $9 billion in profit last year, and they're expected to exceed that every year. They have no reason to try any harder than they are, and they are still kind of trying with their harder because we're not talking about all the expansions that are coming to California. A lot of that money is going to that. Sure, they're not keeping up rides, but they don't have to.
Get back to the price thing, right? There's a couple avenues here, right? On the one hand, you've got this is America, and we are a capitalist country. And if we want to raise the prices of our product because people are paying it, supply and demand, right? That is literally the definition of capitalism. So on the one hand, Jordan, yes, you are right. On the other hand, when we talk about corporate responsibility and ethical business practices as well, that's just another avenue to think about. And I think that we have to look at why Disneyland was created. So right now I'm going to pull on the heartstrings of everyone. And this right here is probably going to be the big argument that everyone is saying. Yeah, exactly. He created Disneyland when he was sitting in his mind, when he was sitting in front of the carousel watching his kids. He wanted a place that he could go to take his family, to take his kids, and have Jordan is waiting to jump in on this. I can see it. He wanted to have a place that he could go and have a good time to leave reality and be with his family, right? So if we break down that pricing again, $140 for one person for one day, once every couple of years that's not a deal breaker. To that point, correct. That is fine. I would totally do that once every couple of years for a guy's day and go get hammered at California Adventure. That's fun. Ben and I have been doing that together for years. The three of us have been doing it for years. It's good fun. We're going to do a beer episode one of these days. So yeah, that's a thing. But when a family of 4 that includes 2 young kids that are in the prime age to go to the park and experience the magic of the characters costs $700 for one park just to get in the door. And it would be over $800 for park hoppers, which means now we're closing in on $1,000 day. That is insane amounts of money for one day of entertainment. Even the movies, as expensive as they are, don't even come close to even the Pantages doesn't even come close to that anymore. Like they are just annihilating it. And I even have here the difference in pass prices from 2015 to 2024. Can I just give you deluxe and premium against Believe and Inspire?
Go for it.
In 2015, when the deluxe pass went up to $549 and the premium went up to $779. And then they also introduced Premium Plus that year, which was always kind of like, why? What is the point? That's when we started noticing price gouging was coming up and they were starting to like monetize as much as they can. And today, Believe is $1,374, and the Inspire key, which has Christmas blacked out, so it's not no blackout days, is $1,749 for the year.
I think that's priced correctly. I'm just saying it. I really do. I truly do. And I'm gonna say something, Jeremy, with what you said. You're right. The other side is of all this negative that you have with not increasing the price. But what you also have with that is increased crowds, which is also diluting the product quite a bit. Because if you can't get on more than a couple rides and you have to increase your amount you're paying for Lightning Lane, then you're really not saving any money. And then if the crowds are that big, the Lightning Lane's going to be slow. There is so many issues with this. And the only way I see to save the product is what you two were just talking about, is how Universal is putting things in other places in the country. Disney needs to change in that way. They need to put their product. The world is getting more populated, especially this country, and we need more places if the Disney product is going to remain this popular.
Yeah,
I'm gonna bring something up.
I agree with that really quick. Sorry, Ben, don't mean to interrupt, but yeah, I actually do agree with that. I think there's plenty of places around the country where you could have a really great Disney park. You've got Six Flags all over the country, with roller coasters, which I'm really upset we're not doing a Fright Fest episode, because we need to do a Fright Fest episode and go on.
I didn't say we can go to Fright Fest. I didn't say we couldn't go to Fright Fest. I said Jordan wouldn't go to Fright Fest. I would go to Fright Fest.
Jordan, you want to go to Fright Fest?
We could have me go, but I'm just going to be this guy that's like holding my jacket and crying.
Really?
I mean, that sounds entertaining to me. I think we should definitely do this now.
I want roller coasters. I go on princess rides with Kaylee too much. Sorry, Kaylee. I love you. I need roller coasters.
Keep going, because I want to bring something up. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, I love the idea of expansion. I mean, God, Universal, again, you guys will not hear the end of me talking about Epic Universe. It looks so good.
Guys, do you agree with me in the sense that the reason Disney doesn't do this is that they put such a I would say, prestige on the parks they have. And they think that creating more of these, they're diluting their own product. And Disney would much rather, and they'd rather the consumer as well, treat Disney as something above Universal, above Six Flags, and not treat it like those parks where you can go multiple times a year. Like, they'd rather be the Ferrari of the theme park world and everybody else be a Lexus.
So it's funny you said Ferrari, because Ferrari does have, I'm pretty sure it's Ferrari, has its own
in
park
Dubai.
now.
Yeah, that's great. You know what? That park's like a Toyota. So
look, I think you have something, you're onto something there. Look, Disney did have Disney Quest locations across the country, right? And those weren't like amazing. Like, there was one over in Westlake Village. But like, to your point, maybe they looked at that as like their test market into like ways to get into smaller communities and like
but
have
I'm
the
not
Disney.
Saying that. I'm saying build a full-size park.
Yeah. You're saying, yeah,
build a new park with a new castle and a whole shebang. Instead of like adding little expansions here to increase the capacities of the little parks in Anaheim that have no space to grow, go to San Diego, go to Seattle.
Well, they said Oklahoma. They were looking at land in Oklahoma. It was so cheap.
Yeah, I don't think that you would do it in any of the cities you just mentioned, though, Jeremy. You would definitely, if you're Disney, you're definitely building in the middle of the country. If you're going to build a third park domestically, there's space. I don't think it's Texas anymore. I think that there's too many people there now, and since Universal's going in there, they're going to want to go somewhere where there's not competition. They want to go somewhere it's just them. I want to bring up pricing from when we were right out of college, really quick, from 2010 to 2015. Okay,
yeah,
I'm just looking at it a little bit more.
I see those. I almost cried when I looked at this just now, by the way, because I remember those days. That was great.
Yeah, so let's talk about 2010. A one-day park ticket cost $76 to go to both parks, and one day was an additional $25. 2011, and parking was $15, guys. Okay, I miss those.
To get in the park for one person with a park hopper with parking, just to add the math up, it's $116.
So look,
no brainer for me.
And look, it just goes up from there. 2011 for one day for one park was $80, $25 to upgrade to park hopper. 2012 was $87, and then you added $38 for a park hopper. 2013 was $92 plus $45 for a park hopper. $96 in 2014, $54 to go to both. And in 2015 it was $99 for a one day, and then you added $56 to go to both. those prices to me aren't super outrageous, actually. And like Jordan, I get it, man. Like inflation is a thing to a degree, and people will like I go back to what I said. People will always pay a premium to be entertained. But when you're talking about like guest capacity and you're talking about how busy the parks are, Disney does reach a limit where they close the gates. It doesn't matter. The pricing can be whatever. And then you look at like the Lightning Lane, and
that's how great they're doing. They can say we don't want any more money. Close the door.
But like but in general, it becomes like a thing where the park can only take in X amount of people without being like a hazard. That's
fire code.
But that's what I'm talking about. So, and like that was happening back in these dates also. And look, people spent money.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't arguing against the 2000s, if you noticed. I said 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I'm just saying that I don't think that it's priced. I hear what you're saying about how Disney is more prestige than the other parks. I'll give you that. When you go to a Disney park, you can literally eat off the ground. That's not me telling you to eat off the ground. I'm just saying that, yeah, you can potentially like...
Ew, Ben eats off the ground at Disneyland.
But look, you're right. You're going to pay a premium that there's going to be a cleanly park, that there's going to be trash cans located that aren't overflowing, that there's going to be a level of customer service. Now, we can get into that too, right? I agree with you. When you go to a Knott's or a Six Flags, which, by the way, have now merged into one company, then that's going to be super interesting to see what they do with all those properties now.
Let's hope Six Flags, because in that deal, by the way, Six Flags is the only one that needs to up what they're doing.
I agree with
Knott's is at the
I agree with that. So I am going to bring up Knott's though with that. So like these other theme parks, Knott's, when I think about Knott's firsthand, you could buy an annual pass to Knott's for way cheaper than, I don't know the pricing off the top of my head, but I know that my sister has one. And with that, she also got a meal plan. Disney gives you discounts. I'll give you that with your annual pass or your Magic Key, whatever it's called.
Yeah, but the price of the food went up so much, it doesn't even matter. You're just getting no tax off your food.
And I would argue that sometimes the food at these other parks is better. And like, you ever been to? Okay, this is gonna be gross. Hey, this is gonna be gross because I'm gonna say this, and you're both gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. When you walk into a Disneyland bathroom, it always has the same smell. Okay, I don't know what it is.
It's horrible.
Yeah, it is. But that's because the food
not
is
the
horrible.
bathrooms that I know of, which will be another episode.
Yeah. Regardless, I think that the takeaway...
pro tip, do not use the Fantasyland bathrooms after 11 a.m. And stay away from the Autopia bathrooms.
At all costs.
At all costs.
I think that the point here is that we're all right to a degree, okay? And I'm never going to say that again, that we're all right to a degree. People will pay X amount of dollars to be entertained. The price of a ticket, if you're going once a year, maybe sure, that's fine. I get it. You're going to plan for it. It's not like people that are living in Ohio are flying out to California tomorrow to randomly go to Disneyland, okay? Those are people that are planning a vacation, and they're also probably going to Florida if I'm in Ohio.
I disagree with that. I think the fandom has become so much more rabid in the last 10 years because of social media.
You think demand is so much higher is what you're saying. I wouldn't say rabid. You're saying that demand is higher.
I think fans are more rabid than ever. I think that there are 18-year-old girls, 18-year-old boys all over the country that will open a credit card and go to Disneyland tomorrow.
I mean, we were one of those 18-year-olds, so it's all how you view it.
Exactly. And there's more of us now.
Regardless of how you feel about the prices, I just think that the product needs to match that. I was mentioning this earlier to you guys. I think that when you increase price, the guest expectation changes a little bit as well. So if I'm going to pay X amount of dollars to go to Disneyland, my expectation goes up. I'm expecting that I'm going to feel more entitled almost in some areas. And I think that's a real thing when you're saying, well, now, there's no more Fast Pass. Now you have to pay for Max Pass or Genie, whatever it's called today, right? So if you want to have Lightning Lane, right? So like if you want to have that experience of being able to wait in line for one ride, but then have the ability to bypass a line, you got to pay an extra premium for that. But then it creates this sense of entitlement, which increases the, how do I say this nicely? The animosity in the park maybe goes up a little bit. The toxicity in the park goes up a little bit. And then when you do get people that have had too many drinks at California Adventure, and then they're being told no to something, then that's likelihood of them getting upset. Nope, I don't know what you're talking about.
Ben?
No. We're not talking about Ben. We're talking about those two members of Club 33 that refused to let go.
Yeah. But you get what I'm saying though. Like this is a real thing, and to cure that, I don't know how you cure that without giving more value with the park admission. So like I don't know.
I think you cure it by people understanding what they're paying for. If they want, you can argue as much as you want that the food is better at the other parks, which very subjective there.
Sure.
I was going to use this analogy earlier. When you buy a Ferrari, every little extra costs something, like a navigation system, whatever, like the call star thing. On a Toyota, it's all included.
No, you're right. I get that. You're completely right. I hear you. Part of me for playing devil's advocate with this just a little bit. That's all I'm saying.
I know, and I'm just happy to be the devil.
Let me bring up another point in this really quickly, because it ties into something Ben said just before the Ferrari bit. That also, I wonder, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts on this, and I'm curious everyone else's thoughts as well. Is the money coming in being spent correctly on the parks? Meaning, we're critical because we care. I'm going to mention the ride none of us have been on yet, Tiana, because that's been the big talk of the town in terms of how they've improved it, like in terms of what they did with the storyline, whatever, right? The focus seems to be on, and the analogy I'm going to use also is the games industry, the film industry, and the music industry, and the tech industry just as a whole. The focus right now today in the tech world is always seeming to be on the next shiny new object and how we can run with that as quickly as possible to make the most amount of money as possible. There's nothing wrong with that. However, I pose to you, what about the idea of taking the technology that exists and using it as a tool to enhance people's livelihoods? Now, bringing that into theme parks, are we focused too much on showing this new wowzer technology? Do any of us notice the difference in the modern animatronics versus the animatronics of old? Are they spending too much time improving a robot that's going to live underneath a skin anyways and not go anywhere? Or should they actually be improving the storyline, the guest experience, the whole package? And I kind of think it's a little bit of both. And that's why I talk about corporate ethics and responsibilities to the consumers. I think that if people are supporting your brand and your product, you do have a responsibility to make them feel heard and seen, and to make them feel like they're a part of your company, they're your supporters. You want them to be happy, right? You go to a restaurant, the customer is always right. They're there to serve you. Theme parks is a service industry still. You're serving the guests' expectations. You're giving them a good time, right? So if you're just trying to wow them and stroke your own egos into this thing, then we're not spending the money correctly, and it's doomed to crash. We're seeing it in the game space right now in the video games industry. It's layoffs after layoffs after layoffs. I have friends that haven't been able to get hired in over a year, and it's not because their resume or because of any other reason other than everyone is just hurt right now by that. And so
I agree. I agree, Jeremy. I just want to say I agree. I just don't think there's anything we can do about corporate greed.
Yep.
Voicing it, all of us refusing to go to the parks at these prices, and and really making a true stink about all the problems Ben's saying about rides being down. But right now, people Karen, what is it called? Karening, doing Karen stuff at the parks. Like, that's not solving anything.
I'll pose you this though, okay? It's like you guys are both hitting stuff pretty on the head, in my opinion. I think the issue with the domestic parks, more California, because that's where we are. There isn't room to do a lot of improvements. That's what Jeremy, you're talking about. Are they spending? Hold on, it just got approved, that giant expansion. But when I look at like Tokyo or I look at Shanghai, like these parks that are beautiful, like the Fantasy Springs that just opened up, I think that was in Tokyo Disney Sea. Like to me, they know their audience really well. Though, those rides are stunning. They're beautiful. Like they're not even super long. Jeremy, you're mentioning animatronics, and like, can we tell the difference? I would argue that you can tell the difference in some areas. Do they need to spend all the money on the tech? Maybe not. I'll give you that. Okay, but then I don't want to
Story is king.
Right. But I don't want to end up with a ride then like Toy Story Midway Mania that is Spider-Man across the way. Okay, I don't want. But you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Both
I
those
like
rides
Spider-Man. I will say it is different because it has the hand tracking thing, and it is fun for someone who like me, who likes superheroes, to be able to go, "Hi, I'm Spider-Man." So I will argue that it is a fun experience.
Yeah, but you're just talking about the tech for the sake of tech almost, and to me, that's exactly what that is. Because to me, that's not value.
Well, that's improving on a fun experience, right?
Then
Whereas animatronic is just something you're looking at, and Pirates is still classic with all
right.
Enhance and improve.
I'm not arguing that. I'm not arguing that. I think that if you were to look at the rides overseas, though, the storytelling is better.
Yes.
I mean, have you guys both seen the Beauty and the Beast ride over?
Yeah, I want to go on it so bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, to me, that's the most basic ride in the world.
I really want to see this one. My daughter is obsessed and is dying to go inside that castle. So yeah.
Do you guys know why those parks actually though would get better products? Like, the reasoning behind that, Ben.
I mean, you could share it because
these parks are not 100% owned by Disney. So they're charging the other companies, whether it's the country or something, a surplus, and they're paying for this better product. The domestic parks are wholly owned by Disney, and they're not going to invest those kind of dollars into this.
Well, let's hope then, with all the news they made at D23 this year for the future of the theme parks, right? At least the domestic ones, that everything they did say comes true and that it is all beautiful and that the crowds, because look, I get why they're building a third gate, right? They have the space potentially. There is the demand clearly. Okay, I understand all that. I'm worried that when that park does open, and inflation, like, things are going to cost differently no matter what in 10 years. So $200 in 10 years from now could be the equivalent of like, what, I don't know, it could be equivalent of like 150 today or something. I don't know. Things will cost more, but like, read the comments on my Facebook group. I mean, like, some of these people are priced out, and that is a real thing. And
I want us to do a poll. I want us to do a poll, by the way, on the thing. Can we do polls?
Yeah, of course.
I would love to have a poll. Would you go to the park? And we increase it 100 and then end it at 500 plus. Just see how many people respond, because I bet you a big chunk of them will still go, even if it's $500 for a ticket.
Poll will be available in the Facebook Disneyland Rumors and News group.
Look, at the end of the day, just to kind of wrap it up for this episode, pricing is pricing, right? Like, things are going to go up in cost. Competition's good for everyone. That's the other component to this. So Universal doing what they're doing with Epic and opening up these other gates in different states, it's good for competition. It pushes them to be better and to do more. Obviously, when you invest in the theme park and they add more additions to it, like future rides and attractions, they have to make the money up. I understand that. I don't know how much it costs to run the theme park on a daily basis. I won't even pretend to do that. I'm sure that one of you can look that up really quickly. And I'm still sure they're making a killing off what they're charging. As a fan, it's our responsibility to hold the company to a high standard still and make sure that the product is matching the price. Again, you're going to pay whatever you want to pay if you find value in it. That's the biggest thing. Like, at the end of the day, you're going to spend X amount of dollars because you yourself want to be entertained by the Disney brand. Jordan, what's the price number?
Well, it's $47.4 million a day, but I'm trying to see what that is per year. Hold on one sec. I think, is that right? That it's, okay. So it's 17 billion a year, but that's still them. No, it's not right. It can't be 17 billion, is it?
I mean, it sure can.
Yeah,
actually.
I guess so. It's 17 billion a year, but they're still making 9 billion over that. So,
yeah, look, at the end of the day, like, there's a reason why they're building a gift shop now for Haunted Mansion right outside the exit. Like, they make a killing on their merch. They're good at it. Tiana's is going to have a ton of stuff opening up with it too. They're retheming the Hungry Bear. I mean, like, there are things that are happening, and I understand that it's going to go up. I just personally feel like the product doesn't always match. Jordan, I hear you loud and clear. Jeremy, you're right in so many points too. And this is just a small group of us talking about what we all find value in. Because at the end of the day, it's all about value. So that's my 2 cents on that. If you guys want to wrap it up, go ahead and give your final thoughts, and then we're going to say goodbye for today. Wow, I got you both to not talk. That's amazing.
I mean,
in that case, thank you all for tuning in. We know this episode's a little bit more critical than what you probably are used to, but it's important. Be critical.
I swear I care. I swear. I know the audience will not.
we do care. All right. Well, thank you again for joining us today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that bell so you get notifications. And wherever you get your podcast, check us out too. Until next time, I'm Ben. That's Jordan. That's Jeremy. We'll see you soon.